The next part of building a powerhouse, Black-led nonprofit seminar, we have the pleasure of welcoming Gloria to the microphone. And I know we all know Gloria, but I am still going to share with you her bio, so we might learn a little bit that we did not know. She is an experienced educator, administrator, and dedicated community organizer. She has worked for over 3 decades with a variety of grassroots community initiatives, with a special focus on youth and families, social justice, and preparing students of color for college and professional education. Ms. Smith is currently executive director of the Black Star Project in Chicago. I like that part. An organization founded in 1996 by Philip Jackson to uplift the community and promote excellence in education. In her work with the Black Star Project, Ms. Smith has helped coordinate a range of events and activities, including youth leadership programs with the Mayor's Mentoring Initiative and commemoration of Dr. Martin Luther King's 1967 Beyond Vietnam sermon, drafted by Dr. Vincent Harding at Riverside Church in New York City. Ms. Smith has also worked with the Veterans of Hope Project in Denver, Colorado, the DePaul University College of Law, the Chicago Kent College of Law, as well as other educational and community organizations. In her early career, Ms. Smith was an associate director of regulatory and public policy before retiring from Ameritech Corporation in 1999. So if you didn't know her, hopefully you got something new today, and help me welcome Ms. Gloria Smith, who will share with us about day-to-day operations.
Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How's it going? Everybody's enjoying the day, learning something new? Good. Okay, so I'm here to talk about day-to-day operations. And who here struggles with day-to-day operations in your nonprofit? Everybody, probably. Me too. And so when you think of operations, what comes to mind?
Communications?
Communications, yeah. Lots of stuff. As Julie mentioned, I have had over 3 decades of experience in the private and public sectors. I retired from the phone company in 1999, about 20 years ago. So you're probably wondering, how old is that lady? And as I tell my staff often, they all know, I'm pushing 70, right. And I say that because I have a young staff, and I couldn't do this work without those people. And I want to recognize them here today, but they are everything to me. And so I would say to you that the most important thing that you can do is to surround yourself with good people, because that's how I get this work done. The private sector and nonprofit sectors are completely different. In the private sector, everything is laid out for you. You have all these procedures, methods, and procedures binders. At the phone company, they had acronyms for everything, products, services, everything was laid out. When I came to the nonprofit world, it's completely different. I never know what's going to happen until I come to the office. So when the phone rings, when I get emails, I'm driven by those things. I might get a call from a parent looking for resources or support for their child. I might get a call from someone looking for a job for safe passage. I might get a funder asking, if I can meet with them for a funding opportunity. Or I might get a directive from Philip Jackson, and that changes everything. So I'm just saying that day-to-day operations is usually based on, you have to be very flexible in this area. So I'd like to share a few tips that might help you in your day-to-day operations. As I mentioned, surround yourself with a great staff. I want to recognize some of the people who helped me get the job done. The first young lady I'd like to recognize is this one right here, Miss Shanita Howard, Jones Howard. Your name tags, your cards on the table, everything she is responsible for. She comes in, I don't have to give her directions, she just knows what to do. She's done it for forums. And that's another thing. Know your people, know what their strong points are, know what they're good at, and encourage them to do well in those areas. The next person I want to recognize is this young lady, Natalie Coleman. She is my director of operations. I couldn't do anything. She takes care of my personnel, my staff, time sheets, payroll, everything. So thank you, Natalie, for just keeping me on task. And let me see who else is back there. I have two young ladies who are out here, Anansi Carmichael and Michelle Washington. They come in every day. They know what they need to do. I don't have to tell them. I give them direction, and that's the difference between being a boss and being a director or being a leader. And that's something that you'll find in your under resources, just some tips, the difference between being a boss and being a leader. So when you get a chance, look at those. But just not having to tell people what to do every day. Just giving them just letting them be leaders too, you know, letting them take the lead. And you encourage them to do the right thing. So the two young ladies who are out here are managing our registration table. Bettina left, she manages our food service, but she also takes care of our youth program. She's working on her PhD, just a wonderful staff. Kenton keeps everything neat and clean. And this young lady right here, Tina Dabney, she is someone who has just come to us recently. She wears many hats. She is, first of all, personal assistant to Mr. Jackson. So we need to give her a hand for that, because she just stepped in and she takes care of his every administrative and personal needs. She is also recently connected to the Black Star Project in many ways. And she and I stayed here till 8 o'clock last night to produce the binders that you all are working with. So we want to give Tina a big hand for her work. Okay, just a few other tips that I'd like to mention. George Wright told the story about, I didn't hear it all. I think he said he walked into a meeting late and everybody was sitting there. Well, I didn't hear the story, but it had something to do with time. Time is very, very important. I think everybody here knows how important time is to Philip Jackson. He does not want you to be 1 minute late. He is a stickler for time. And so here at Black Star, we try to be very conscious of time. And I thank Julie for keeping us on track, getting through this process. The other thing I'd like to share is be flexible. We talked a little bit about that. I have a friend, Francine Chalunas. She was here early, the attorney who was sitting here. Francine and I worked together at the phone company. I was in regulatory, she was in the law department. And she is also my mentor. And the one thing that she has taught me is to be flexible. She has a saying, I'm a willow, I can bend. And so when all of these things are coming at you, just remember to be a little flexible. Okay. This is something that you probably hadn't thought about in your nonprofit work, but this is something that's important to me and my family. And Black Star is not just a public nonprofit, it is also a family. Philip and I, our family, in case any of you didn't know that, Philip is my brother. And so hospitality has always been a big part of who we are and what we do. And we wanted to make sure that you all felt comfortable when you came here today. And we get that from our grandmother, Mama Freeney. And it was also something that I did in my work in Denver. Just very quickly, the work that I did in Denver, Julie mentioned that I was on the commemoration committee for the 1967 speech for Martin Luther King, the speech that he gave at Riverside Church. The first time that Dr. King had spoken out on the Vietnam War. And a lot of people said to Dr. King, stick with civil rights, don't talk about the war. And Dr. King said, no, it's a human rights issue, and I have to speak out. And so he gave that speech. And as many of you know, it was a hard last year for him, from April 4th, 1967 until his death, April 4th, 1968. That last year of his life was very difficult because he gave that speech. And in that speech, he talks about, and I know this doesn't have to do with operations, but I just want to share, the triple evils of this country, which are militarism, because he was speaking out against the war, materialism, because as you remember, he was working with the Poor People's Campaign at the time, marching with sanitation workers in Memphis. And the third, racism. Thank you. Somebody knows this speech. And if you think about it, militarism, materialism, and racism, we're still dealing with those three issues today. And so I was given the opportunity to work with the commemoration committee at Riverside Church. Last year was the anniversary. And I just say that because the work that I do in Denver is related to Dr. Vincent Harding, who wrote that speech. And Dr. Vincent Harding is also Philip and my uncle. So I just wanted, to share that what we do is also family related. So I manage two nonprofits, one here, one in Denver, and because it's family, I just do what I have to do. But I couldn't do what I do without the volunteers and the staff that I have. And there's some technical things that you need to remember. Make sure that your financials are in order, your 990s, make sure that you follow every step for your audits. If you don't have an accounting system, QuickBooks is good, but get an accounting consultant. Meet with someone who knows about that. And you need to learn to read financial statements if you don't understand them. Budgets are important. At the phone companies, we did annual budgets and we did 5-year plans. So I'm not suggesting that you do 5-year plans, but think about it. You heard about grants and fundraising. You'll hear some more about some of those things later. HR issues, make sure your payroll, hiring practices are up to date and that your HR files are complete. Making sure that you have all your I-9s and everything that needs to be in a personnel file. And when it comes to hiring consultants, make sure that you issue 1099s if you have them for anyone who's making more than $600, or follow up with your tax consultant to make sure that you're in compliance. And We talked about correspondence, we talked about phone calls, you know, your day-to-day, things that just kind of come at you that you'll have to address. So that's pretty much all that I have to share with you. As I mentioned, there are some resources in your binder. Just take a look at those. And Julie, if anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to take them. But I wish you all well. Thank you all for being here. Yes, sir.
Well, to a point you just touched on, Mr. Gloria, I
Yes.
think you should encourage all of us to look at long-range planning in a written form.
Yes.
Part of, actually, it's very important because part of grant prospecting now, I'm seeing more and more requests for proposals asking to attach your strategic plan
Thank
to
you.
the proposal. Woody, how are you thinking out the next 3 to 5
5
years?
years.
So what we have to begin to do, at some point, you're going to have to take steps towards moving from startup nonprofits, then emerging nonprofits, to a functioning, operating, very legitimate nonprofit organization that is able to respond to the base expectancies that funders are going to look for.
Yes.
And just like every business must have a business plan,
Yes.
every nonprofit should have a strategic plan.
Plan.
And quite frankly, even if you're in your beginning stages, you need to have something,
Yes.
some document, some blueprint that guides your evolution process.
White paper or something. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And keep in mind that nonprofit organizations are businesses, and there are some aspects that, right, you have to. Yes, Kelly.
If you had a couple of tips that you can give to, I would say more so inspire,
Yes.
to educate young professionals and millennials on how to effectively utilize volunteers. I
Yes.
think that's a huge challenge. Volunteers are not
I
just,
agree.
people that come in and we use them for the day and that they're not. It goes back to Mr. Moreau's point about relationship building. But when you think about capacity building, the different gaps that we have in our structure, I'm just trying to really do a lot to help them understand how, from point of entry,
Right.
how just some motivational, inspirational points to help them think about
Absolutely.
volunteer support.
Yes, yes.
Can I help with that? You can see me afterwards. I'm a volunteer coordinator, and so I can answer that question a little bit more fully for you.
Okay, and that's Tina.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. And organizations like Black Star, we don't get a lot of funding, but we do a lot of good work with the resources that we have. And
I would say that could be a whole workshop.
yes,
And I think
I
we could
agree.
be very strategically sharing
I
that
agree.
out.
Yes.
Because I think that's a gap in knowledge.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
that,
We have a couple of other people who just kind of keep us, Deacon Vince Price is here, and who else am I forgetting? He is the one who manages our Young Black Men of Honor program. And so we haven't been doing as much. As you know, Black Star has changed its focus a little bit. We're still very active and involved in the community. We still have a heart for these young people, but we've decided to focus on economics as a way to address some of these issues so that we can have a greater impact on and you'll hear from Mr. Jackson later. He's going to make some remarks before we leave, but I just thank you all for being here today. Any other questions or thoughts, or give me some ideas? What are some of the things that are best practices for you, or help you?
Well, I would share a lesson that I took a while to learn. Think before you act. It's very easy sometimes as a manager to be reactionary to situations that may bombard you at the same time. And I will always advise, even when it comes to responding to something in the email, because you're gonna always have your detractors and those who may try to discourage you. And I guess what I'm trying to say, always try to find the opposite way to respond that's different than what your natural response would be.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My natural response, even as a minister, is sometimes to suggestively say, kiss my game. But I find that it's more prudent to sit back and reflect and then come back. I thank you for your thoughts, and I will consider responding that way in the future after I discuss it with my board. And that's very key. We always want to show that whatever your decision-making process involves others. Are you following me on that? We always want to show your decision-making process involves others. But if you keep using that I,
Yes.
those funders, those who will be your donors, they will listen for key words that will either keep you in the game or knock you out.
Okay, I think we're done.
Give it up for Ms. Miller.
Okay,
And that's all I have.
thank you all.